If it is all fermented grape juice, why are some people paying so much for it? That is a justified question, one that many people have asked me before, but the fact that you pay more for one product than for another very similar product isn't something new. Just look at handbags or cars, for instance. A Gucci bag is just another leather bag, and a Ferrari won't get you to work faster than your Honda. Well, that is if you follow the law. Still, humans are prepared to pay much more for certain luxury items because they represent something extraordinary and make them feel better about themselves. For this feeling, you pay extra, but in a blind tasting, the brand of a luxury item does not matter anymore. All wines are just bottles in black bags. Leon has selected 5 wines that are all made from the same grape variety or varieties. They might all be from the same place or from all over the world. I don't know. What I know though is that one of those wines is really expensive and the rest are more moderately priced. The questions are, will I know which one is which, and will the most expensive wine win the tasting? Let's find out. All right, let's start off with wine number 1, which comes in a slightly weird bottle. So wine 1 is pale ruby. I mean, it's not very dark, at least. It's not the palest, but I can kind of barely see my hands through it, but I can see them through it. And it looks pretty young. I mean, the color is really ruby. There's not too much browning there, so it looks like a young red wine. That's all I'm willing to commit to so far. It smells of dark fruit, blackberries. There's also a little bit of cherry character coming through. There's a bit of spice, some barnyardy flavors, so a little wild and rough. On the palate, it has some freshness and fruit, but also pretty grippy tannins. They are slightly rustic, I would say, a little bit green. A little bit rough. There's some peppery and black olive notes coming through, and that kind of points to one grape variety. Definitely wild and on the fresher side, but I gotta be honest here. I mean, this bottle feels awfully familiar. That's always the issue with blind tastings. I know I should really decant them all into carafes, and that gets a little bit difficult logistically. But I think I know this bottle. As a matter of fact, I have that exact same bottle somewhere here. Give me a second. So here you go. That's Chateau Baum. Remember that one? That's one for the OGs who've been following this channel for a long time. This was a wine that I made myself, and I bottled it into several different bottles. And this one was a bottle from Pietra Sassi. So Pietra Sassi is a producer from Santa Barbara. They use those bottles and they make wine out of the grape variety Syrah. So I'm going to say this is a Syrah from Santa Barbara, from Pietra Sassi. I think it's one of their more high-end wines. So I'd say this is maybe bien Nacido. I don't think it's very old. I would say it's like 2019 probably as a vintage, and it's really good. So they are more on the lighter side. They pick a little bit earlier. They like to use quite a lot of whole bunch. And this is a more lighter, vibrant wine, but a delicious one with a lot of balance. And I'm going to rate this 92 points. Next up, we have wine number 2, and this is a heavy bottle. The weight of the bottle obviously doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the wine, but still people like to use heavy bottles in order to indicate that this is a great wine. But it isn't, and it's kind of bad for the environment. Anyways, let's taste. So this is super intense and concentrated, quite a lot of dark fruit flavors, blueberries, blackberries, quite a lot of concentration and richness. On the palate, there's so much weight and concentration. So the tannins are quite polished and round. There's quite a lot of alcohol there and quite a lot of extract. It almost feels like there's a little bit of sweetness there too. So quite a big wine. So this sort of has a new world feel to it, but it could also be the old world. Sometimes get that from wines from Portugal. They are obviously in the old world in Europe, but they sometimes produce wines that remind me of New World winemaking, so quite ripe and concentrated and very clean. And this feels a little bit like that. They also use Syrah in Portugal, especially in the south. So I'm just going to say this could be Portugal. Syrah from Portugal. I think this is quite a good wine. What I don't really like is the sweet finish to it. So I'm going to rate it 90 points. And yeah, I'm pretty sure there are lots of people who really enjoy this. It's not really for me. So let's move on to wine number 3, which comes in a much lighter bottle. Good start. Wine number 3 has quite a lot of spiciness to it. So this kind of suggests that I'm on the right track with Syrah here. There's quite a lot of peppery notes there. There's blackberries again, but not super ripe blackberries, more like just ripe blackberries, a little bit of red currant. Quite delicious. There's also some oak coming through. The use of oak in Syrah is not uncommon at all. So yeah, this feels like a moderate climate because of the spicy notes. I mean, in Syrah, those spicy notes do tend to come out more when the wine is not from a really hot region. And I certainly get that here. So this could be from a cooler part of the old world, but it could also be from the new world. I'm kind of considering New Zealand, Chile. That feels a little bit like one of those places. But it obviously also could be South Africa. Because, yeah, it has this new world, old world kind of feel. So let's say South Africa. I do think 3 is absolutely delicious. I'm going to rate this 94 points. Really good Syrah. On to wine number 4. So 4 is certainly quite dark in color. I can't see my fingers through it. It's ruby, kind of black at the core. Towards the rim, there's a little bit of browning, but just a touch. On the nose, there's actually quite a lot of spice and black olive tapenade, a flavor that I absolutely love in Syrah. You get that usually when you use a lot of whole bunch. So if you include the stems in the fermentation, you get this spicy black olive kind of flavor. You, however, also can get quite a lot of grippy, slightly bitter tannins. Let's hope this one doesn't have that. Whoa, this is a big and beautiful wine. I mean, really, really good. This kind of feels like the essence of Syrah. It has this spiciness, pepperiness, blackberries, cherries, ripe tannins, great freshness. So it's really, really, really complete. There's also some oak there, which is kind of underlining the fruit. Quite balanced. So I'm going to rate this 97 points. I think it's a stunning wine, a really delicious wine. And I'm guessing that this is probably the most expensive wine in the tasting, just because it has quite a lot of elements. And this kind of winemaking requires low yields, great vineyards, and really knowledgeable winemakers. So I'm going to say this is probably from the northern Rhone. It could be from Hermitage. It could be from Cote Rotie maybe. I'm actually going to Cornas here. I'm thinking this feels quite intense, grippy, dark. And that is kind of what Cornas tastes like for me at least. And yeah, delicious wine. So here we go, wine number 5. Another dark and concentrated red wine, which is quite delicious and fruit driven. Really, really fruity. For me, this has juniper, fresh blackberries, a little bit of black currants, but not cassis liqueur. It's more fresh black currants. Really concentrated and very, very much on the fruit. This feels to me like a wine that is from the old world. It has a certain wildness, a little roughness to it, even though there's quite a lot of fruit there. There's also this garlic spice notes coming through. So yeah, I'm guessing this could be from Germany. It could be from Italy. We had some great Syrah here from Italy. It could be from southern France. Tough. Because of this garrigue, the undergrowth in southern France flavor, I'm just going to go Languedoc-Roussillon. I think this is probably more of a really entry-level wine, not a very expensive wine, but quite delicious. I'm going to rate this 91 points. I think it's just juicy, fresh, and vibrant. Really good. So who's ready for the big reveal? I am. So let's jump into it. So wine number 1, I was in Santa Barbara. I said this is Pietrasassi. But yeah, I mean, when you know the bottle, you know the wine. But well, maybe there's someone else using that bottle. Let's see. No. This is the 2015 Pietrasassi Bien Nacido Syrah. So I was actually in the right vineyard and the right winery, but I thought this was younger. It felt much younger, 2015. So obviously almost 9 years old, but it still tastes delicious. So this is not a steal, but it's pretty affordable still, I think. So this is not the expensive wine for sure. So let's move on to wine number 2. I actually thought it had some New World character, but I ended up in Portugal in the end. Style-wise, I thought this reminded me a little bit of Portuguese reds. What I didn't really like here was the super rich concentration on the finish, slight sweetness, but it still felt like a really well-made wine. So let's have a look what this might be. Damn. Okay, I was wrong. So this is actually the 2017 Eden Valley Shiraz from Two Hands, the Yacca block, single vineyard, from Barossa in Australia. So yeah, I just didn't really feel this wine, to be honest. And I think it's actually, I don't think it's the super premium wine, but it's not a cheap wine. But yeah, I just thought it was too big. And I didn't get any eucalyptus here, which is odd. Yeah, this is a big wine. I don't know. I don't quite get it. So let's move on to the next. Again, I felt it was a little bit between the old and the new world, but I ended up in South Africa. So let's find out what it was. Wine number 3. Whoa. Planeta, Maroccoli, from Sicily in Italy. So it's kind of in between the old and the new world. It's also south of here, but it's definitely not South Africa. It is 100% Syrah from 2019. I thought it was really good stuff. So wine number 4, the wine that I thought was the best and probably is the most expensive wine so far. I mean, I don't actually know how much this is, but yeah, I'm thinking this is kind of like the top dog. So let's have a look what this. Yes, all right. Well, I was in the right region, but I wasn't quite in the right village. So this is the Cote Rotie 2018 from Jamet, and it's a delicious wine. I mean, if you're into Syrah, you should definitely try this. Which leaves us with wine number 5, a wine that I quite liked and struggled to place, but in the end I went to southern France, and I thought this was probably the cheapest in the lineup. But let's find out. The label doesn't really give me much here. Luckily, there's a back label. So this is from Roussillon, Domaine Danjou-Banessy, Cote Catalan, 12.5% alcohol. Yeah, quite fresh and fruit driven. I mean, the label, I don't really get this because you can't really read it. But the wine is really delicious. So this was a beautiful Syrah experience again, and I quite liked all of the wines. I mean, this style-wise just wasn't for me. This is absolutely stunning, but those 3, I mean, they are beautiful wines and probably quite affordable. I mean, if you want to dive into the topic, you can still purchase those. I think Jamet is probably a couple of hundreds of dollars, so quite expensive, but the rest still very affordable and still really delicious. So after doing a few of those tastings, in the end, most of the time, the top wine wins. But the rest, I mean, they're very close. So there's not a huge gap usually between the top wine and some of those more affordable options. So exploring and being more adventurous definitely pays off. But if you want to taste the pinnacle, the real great stuff, the classics, you oftentimes have to pay a premium. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please like it down here. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. My question of the day is, which one is your favorite Syrah? The one that boxes above its price class? Let me know down below in the comments. I hope I see you guys again very soon. Until then, stay thirsty.